lawsuit filed in New York today claims that President Donald Trump is violating the Constitution by accepting money from foreign governments through his family's businesses. Let's discuss now. Richard Painter's here. He is the chief White House ethics lawyer under George W. Bush and one of the lawyers bringing the lawsuit. Noah Bookbinder, executive director of Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, CREW, the nonprofit watchdog group behind the case, and Edward Williamson, a former State Department legal advisor. Gentlemen, it's so good to have you here, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. Noah, I'm going to start with you. Your organization, as I said, filed this lawsuit saying that Donald Trump is violating the Constitution by allowing Trump hotels and other businesses to take payments from foreign governments. Here's how President Trump responded to your lawsuit.
Mr. President, reaction to the lawsuit today?
Thank you. Walk out the side door, please. Thank you, guys.
Noah, what do you say to that?
Well, we think it has tremendous merit. The lawsuit, we're represented in this lawsuit by the top ethics advisor for President Obama and President Bush, the top bipartisan experts, by some of the top legal scholars, constitutional scholars in the country. These people wouldn't have brought the lawsuit. We wouldn't have brought the lawsuit if we didn't think it had significant merit. You've got a president who had an opportunity to sell his businesses, to separate himself from his businesses. He wouldn't have these problems if he had done that, but he didn't. And so you now have a situation where he is, on a day-to-day basis, accepting payments from foreign countries, which the Constitution prohibits, and which really puts you in danger of having him make decisions that benefit his business interests, that benefit these foreign countries, instead of being made in the best interest of the American people.
Ed, Senator Bernie Sanders spoke about the lawsuit on CNN earlier tonight. Listen to this.
We want a president who is going to make decisions based on the needs of the American people, not based on foreign investments and the people who own his debt. And I think this is an issue that has to be looked at very, very thoroughly, and I do have serious concerns.
Do you share his concerns, or do you agree with President Trump that the suit has no merit?
Well, let's talk about the suit. The complaint, I think, has no merit. The interpretation of the Emoluments Clause that the complaint serves up there's not a single court decision or opinion of the Office of Legal Counsel of the Justice Department that supports their interpretation. Another thing is just interesting, just the brief comments, introductory comments that you made and that Noah Bookbinder made. The complaint also very much conflates the question of the Emoluments Clause, and Senator Sanders' comments sort of reflect this too, and the issue of the conflict of interest laws in the U.S. Now, there is a very specific conflict of interest law, and it very specifically excludes the president and the vice president from its coverage. So I think as we go through this discussion, we need to keep in mind which it is that we're talking about. Again, if you want to talk about alternative facts, Noah Bookbinder's comment that Trump could have disposed of his assets is just not true. And his assets are tremendously complicated.
No, you want to respond?
He could not have done it.
Sure, happy to respond. What he should have done is to turn over his companies to a trustee and give the difficult job of figuring out how to dispose of them to that trustee. That kind of thing has been done. It's been done for other officials. It's a kind of thing that is doable. It would have been difficult, but it wouldn't have been his problem. It would have been the trustee's problem. Respectfully, while there are separate laws for conflicts and for these foreign payments that are addressed in the Constitution, the principle is the same. The principle is that you want the President of the United States or any American official making decisions based on what is in the best interest of the American people and of the country, not based on personal financial interests. And so the principle is the same.
Richard, you've sat by patiently. Stand by, because I want Richard to get in. We have very limited time. Richard, we're talking about the Emoluments Clause, and it hinges on this, which says that the government office holder can benefit financially from a foreign state. But earlier this month, Donald Trump's lawyer said that the Emoluments Clause doesn't apply here. Watch this, and then we'll discuss.
No one would have thought when the Constitution was written that paying your hotel bill was an emolument. Instead, it would have been thought of as a value for value exchange, not a gift, not a title, and not an emolument.
Correct me if I'm wrong. She's making a very similar claim as Ed here. Ed, are they right? Is she right? Is Ed right?
No, that's not right. And the oldest conflict of interest laws in the United States are in the Constitution, and they're focused on foreign governments. The founders were very worried about foreign governments. So worried they insisted the president be a natural-born citizen. We certainly heard a lot about that from Mr. Trump over many years. But this provision is far more important. It's the requirement that nobody holding a position of trust with the United States government can be receiving presents or emoluments. And emoluments, it comes from a Latin term, emolumentum, it refers to benefits from foreign governments. And if someone is buying and selling merchandise or leasing hotel rooms to foreign governments, that's fine, but that person cannot hold a position of trust with the United States government. And that's what the founders intended. And Mr. Trump knew this when he was running for president. Now he is President Trump. He cannot be making profits and other benefits from business transactions with foreign governments. And many of these transactions we don't even know about. It's not just hotel rooms, it's financing, bank loans from the Bank of China, loans that may be coming into all of his businesses. We don't know what the debt is on his businesses. It's not disclosed in his financial disclosure form. It could be from all over the world. And that is exactly the type of thing the founders did not want happening. They knew the European powers, other powers would want to interfere in our political system. Great Britain, France,
Okay.
Austria-Hungary, and Russia.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on right now, and we're not going to put up with it.
And I'm sure you want to respond.
I don't know where to start. I mean, it's just, I guess I'll start just asking Richard, where in the complaint is there a court decision or an OLC opinion cited that supports that interpretation? And to the contrary, I think if you look at the white paper that the Trump's lawyers put together, they cite several. And you know, in addition, I mean, if you just do things such as look at the Federalist Papers, which you know, Alexander Hamilton and James Madison wrote to explain the Constitution to the people, they make a dozen or so references to emoluments, and the emoluments is used a couple of times in the Constitution. And no interpretation that they give comes close to what Richard just outlined. An emolument is essentially a payment in respect of service performed in an office.
Okay, so listen, this has never been litigated before. Am I?
No.
That's true.
Go ahead, Rich.
No.
This has never been
That
litigated
is not
before.
the limit of emolument. That is a type of emolument. But it's not limited to an office. Holding an office in the United States at the same time as holding an office in a foreign country, that is not the emolument that they were speaking of. They are talking about benefits earned from foreign governments. It would be
So
through
let me,
business
Richard, let me ask you this. So let's just say that I stay at a Trump International Hotel in D.C., and then I pay, you know, $491 for a room. And let's say a person who is in the next room is a diplomat from maybe Bahrain or something like that, and she pays $491 for a room. Why is my hotel bill a business transaction and her hotel bill a violation of the Constitution, Richard?
Well, both are business transactions. The point is that a person holding a position of trust with the United States government should not be making money on business transactions with foreign governments. There's too much of a potential for corruption there. The founders were very worried about that. They weren't going to say, well, you can't take bribes from foreign governments, quid pro quo. They can't prove that. They wanted to have a prophylactic provision there in the Constitution that you do not receive emoluments, benefits, the Latin term.
And you're saying not a certain
transactions,
kind of
business.
emolument. You mean all emoluments.
Yes.
All right, listen, I got to get a break in, so
Well,
stand
yes.
by. We'll continue to talk about this, but also we're going to discuss this. When we come right back, could this lawsuit force the president to release his tax returns?